Football is full of magic, joy, and unforgettable triumphs. But it also carries moments that leave entire stadiums silent. Moments that remind us these athletes sacrificed everything for the game. Today, we relive some of the most heartbreaking moments in women's football history. Early in the match, Lieke Martens, one of Europe's brightest stars, suddenly collapses after planting her foot awkwardly. A hush falls across the pitch. Teammates gather around, urging the medical staff to rush in. Martens tries to sit up, but the pain is written all over her face. Commentators whisper what everyone is thinking: this could be serious. But then the camera pans to her face in the stands, some wiping tears. For many young girls, Martens is their hero, and watching her go down like this cuts deep. It would be devastating, one voice says. To think this might threaten her tournament, and the fear is real. A World Cup is on the horizon, and one of the best players in the world clutching her ankle. No one wants to see this. The trainers carefully lift her onto a stretcher. She covers her face, knowing this could be a turning point in her season. Elsewhere in the league, another devastating moment unfolds. Dana Castellanos suffers a heavy challenge, landing awkwardly on her knee. As she reaches for it, the stadium immediately senses the worst. And then, one of the most shocking moments in Champions League history. Ada Hegerberg, already battling injuries that kept her out for months, suddenly drops to the ground off the ball. The commentators fall silent. They know her journey has already been filled with setbacks. Fans watch helplessly. It's the kind of moment you never want to witness. A world-class player down without contact. That's a terrible sign, one analyst whispers. Hegerberg is attended to for several minutes, and as she is lifted onto the stretcher, supporters rise to their feet in applause. It's respectful, emotional, and heavy. Moments later, Sophia Smith goes down clutching her leg after sprinting for a loose ball, and replay shows her foot catching the turf. Her teammates immediately signal for help, some turning away in distress. One of the referees approaches her gently, murmuring reassurance as Smith tries to lift her head. But pain takes over, and she lies back down. She's one of the brightest talents of her generation, and seeing her like this leaves fans fearing the worst. The broadcast cuts to her coach, pacing anxiously near the sideline. "This does not look good," the commentator says, voice trembling. Teammates huddle together, some kneeling, others praying quietly. Medical staff continue their work, but everyone can feel the weight of the moment. The hope is always that the injury is minor, but the fear sits heavy in the air. And when a player goes down with no contact, it's almost always the sign of something serious. The stadium sits in stunned silence.
And I think for Sophia Smith, very fortunate that it wasn't the ACL. Sophia Smith is going to bounce back. It's not going to inhibit her from reaching her potential. And she's such a bright star. We saw in the World Cup, she didn't get to play to her full potential.
Later in the season, Alex Morgan collides with two defenders chasing a long ball over the top. She falls hard between them, clutching her ribcage. Morgan tries to catch her breath but struggles. Cameras zoom in on her face. She's clearly in pain. Heat. You hear her tell the trainers, pointing to her side as they apply pressure. The coach debates whether she should have played at all, given the minor injury she had just returned from. He knew she was eager to help her team, but rushing a star player back is always a gamble. Morgan is lifted carefully, fans cheering to show love and support as she's carried off the pitch. She waves weakly, but it's clear the pain is overwhelming. The concern now is not the score, it's her health. Later that month, the national team roster is announced. And young talents like Jalen Howell and Mia Fischel get emotional call-ups. For their families, it's a moment of triumph amid the heartbreak that has filled the season. But football isn't always sadness. There are moments that remind us why the sport is so deeply loved. A young fan celebrating her birthday is invited onto the pitch after a match. She walks nervously toward the players, covering her face as she cries with joy. The team gathers around her, singing happy birthday as she giggles through tears. One player kneels down, saying, "You'll have to come back and watch us play again. Deal?" The girl nods shyly. It's a moment she'll never forget, the moment her heroes made her feel like part of the team. "Who's your favorite?" another player asks. She wipes her ears and whispers, "When Alicia Russo scored that back heel, that was my favorite moment ever." The players laugh and hug her tightly. As she walks away, still emotional, one teammate says, "She's adorable. That made my whole week." Women's football is filled with triumphs and tears, injuries, heartbreak, recovery, resilience, and moments of pure human warmth. This is why the sport continues to inspire millions. These athletes aren't just footballers, they're warriors, role models, icons. And through every setback and every victory, the world continues to fall in love with them.
Centro por arriba, el recentro, el rebote,
In women's football, the most powerful moments aren't always goals. Sometimes there are the ones that leave stadiums silent. One of those moments came when Lieke Martens collapsed in the opening minutes of a crucial match. No contact, just pain. Fans held their breath as medics rushed in. Then Ada Hegerberg, fighting her way back from long injuries, suddenly dropped to the ground off the ball, and the crowd knew instantly something was wrong. Her applause leaving the pitch was emotional and heavy. Sophia Smith had her own terrifying moment, her foot catching the turf mid-sprint, teammates signaling frantically for help. And Alex Morgan, sandwiched between two defenders, laying gasping, clutching her ribs as cameras captured the agony on her face. But even in heartbreak, football gives us light. Like the young fan on her birthday, crying as her heroes sang to her on the pitch. A reminder that even in the toughest moments, this sport inspires something bigger than the game. Women's football is courage. It's pain, it's resilience, and it's why millions continue to fall in love with it.